To prevent myself from getting the knife, I try to convince myself that paintbrushes are easier and nicer to hold. What really makes me think twice each and every time after that is the thought of which one ends the pain faster and longer. I was just wondering, people keep saying that pain doesn't last that long, but it turns out it does. Is it my fault for what is happening? Is it me that is overreacting towards what is happening, or shits do happen? I don't know, and as long as I'm concerned, I'm not trying to find out. All I know, it hurts. People might apologize for millions of times, but the scratches will always be there. The pain, fear, anxiety, depression, and everything have been built inside of me in a super solid form. Is it really that easy to erase all of them in a single year of being nice? I don't know, but I don't feel it that way. People hurt me a lot. They hurt me a lot through words. They make me cry every night, and also make myself cry every single night. They never keep their words in a kind way. They hurt a lot. They do jokes, but the harsh ones. What's the point of living this life if you only surround yourself with a majority of people who only hurt your feelings? Why make it hard for yourself? I suffer from depression since ages ago. I grew up where people don't know the word love. I grew up in a place where friends are there when they need something and gone missing the next second. Do I have any reasons to stay alive? I probably don't. I could just die now and end my stress. Stop thinking about my grades. Stop thinking about what people will say to me too much. Stop trying for bad things. Stop asking for things, and even be better than that, Like, what could be better than that? My mom never let me tell my opinion on things. Her response would be the least thing you ever want to see in this whole planet. It affects me and also builds me into somebody who tend to act in accordance to what everybody thought of. I say things that people want to hear. They usually consider me lying, while the actual fact is that I'm just afraid of their response if I answer the different thing, and simply because I was raised that way. In a way where if I answer it wrong, they will not give a good response. People hate me for that. They consider me as a liar that is very, very irresponsible for things, which add one more reason for me to not actually stay alive. I cry every single night just to really see and feel where is the point I am in right now. I also pray all the time, so then everything will get better eventually, but they don't. I just stress myself out even more. This cruel world of mine is really small. The people who hurt me never really change. They only revolve around my family and closest friends, and it's pretty sad, isn't it? How advanced myself is, and faking a goddamn smile just to make them happy. All in all, I just want to say, no matter how happy I might look on the outside, how loud I sound every time I walk around, I've never been untrue as so. I'm torn inside. The thoughts are running through my head all the time about keeping up or not, but I'm sure I should end it sooner or later, because I have no reasons to stay alive. This was written by me today, 3 years ago, and June 2nd, 2016. Yeah. So that was one out of numbers of quote-unquote suicidal letters I've written to myself. I guess as an author, writing has always been the only escape where I can write everything down with the risk of the shit being read by everybody. That's not the thing that we're going to talk about today, but you get my point about it, right? I was pretty suicidal back then, but yeah, I tried to do suicide multiple times, but I'm still here, I'm still living, I'm still breathing, not sleeping, suffering from chronic ulcer, making a YouTube video, wrote my first book, and actually paint a lot. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna tell my experience in details because it would probably be a 2 hours of nonsense rant. Though I'm gonna try my best to answer your frequently asked questions about mental health based on my own knowledge and understanding. The point of this video is to obviously let you guys know that you're not alone, to really help you guys and to hopefully help you guys to overcome everything that you are going through right now. And please do know that there are still many more things to discover yet, and that is exactly the reason why you need to hang on. So yeah, let's move on to the first question. First question is, what is mental disorder? So according to Wikipedia, a mental illness, which is equivalent to a mental disorder, is an illness of the mind. People with a mental illness may behave in strange ways or have strange thoughts in their view or the view of others. Mental illnesses develop during the life of a person. Exactly, developed. You know, guys, it develops. This may be linked to genes and experience. Surprise, mental illness can actually be genetic. That is exactly why you need to keep your mental health as a priority, because if you're planning to have kids, they might be affected by it, you know. What is considered as a mental illness has been changed over time. What is considered to be mental illnesses may not be one in a different culture. Yeah, stuff like that. Second question, what is depression? I think in my case, depression is one of the most common mental illness occurring in the society nowadays. And as for Matt Haig, which is one of my favorite authors, he wrote a book called The Reasons to Stay Alive, and was a very good book for you who are having some hard time and needed some motivational self-help book. I would totally recommend that book. Depression is very, very dark clouds, and you are the sky. But you need to remember that the sky can always exist without the dark cloud, regardless of the fact that the dark clouds cannot exist without the sky. So like, yeah, you're the one who's holding the control here, so don't really forget that. It actually shows me on how you can always survive depression no matter what, because you were not made by it. You were not born with depression, you know. Third question, how do you know that you actually have a mental disorder? So there are 3 layers of the explanation that I would like to bring today. The first one is you need to be able to differentiate a lot of terms in like mental health, because I would say that being simply sad is not something that you can straightly diagnose as a mental disorder, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you have clinical depression, because feeling depressed might involve extreme sadness and feeling anxious, feeling insecure, while clinical depression might involve a lot more complication inside of the clinical terms and medical terms in mental health. Meaning, sadness could be one of the symptoms of depression, but it doesn't necessarily mean that by definite it must be depression. Meaning, if you are experiencing like extreme sadness, or like you're feeling not good, insecure and anxiety and anxious about anything that you're feeling, don't straightly diagnose yourself that you were having depression, because depression is hell. Nobody ever want to have that. So please do not glorify the existence of depression. It is something that you should probably be aware of, because yeah, cases happened, you know. Second one is, you guys have been asking me about what about self-diagnosing yourself? Is it valid? Is it not? I would say as a ground to start, it would be a great beginning, because you would enrich yourself with a lot of knowledge regarding mental illness. For example, you can search for trusted sources in the internet, because I believe you can find a lot of websites where they provide such information for you to hold. You can start from that point, but to be a lot more valid, to be a lot more legitimate, I think we should step in to the third layer, which is always considered to involve experts to diagnose yourself. Meaning, you don't necessarily need to go to like a psychiatrist, because basically a psychiatrist is the next step after a psychologist. That's currently my understanding. So when you go to a psychiatrist, they would normally diagnose you very practical, in a way where everything will come out very clinical. They will probably give you medicines, and they would probably, I don't know, put stuff in you, because that's exactly what happened to me. But that happened to me after I went to the psychologist, and the psychologist actually gave me a suggestion to go to a psychiatrist to take some antidepressants on certain milligrams. That's what happened to me, and I think that's the best way to, went on with a procedure where you actually go to a psychologist first, and they would give you suggestions of where to go, because I don't think going directly to a psychiatrist is something that is very effective, because whatever that is happening to us, people who are suffering from mental disorder, doesn't necessarily need to be solved with clinical treatments. It doesn't always have to be like that. I mean, like, The first time that I actually went to a psychologist, I managed to do the practical things in my life and overcome it in a certain period of time because I didn't really continue the practices he was suggesting. Definitely wrong. I should have continued it whatsoever. So those are the steps. You can search for it by yourself first. I would totally suggest you to go to an expert who understands a lot more about their condition, because by then you will get a lot more validation and a lot more help to what you should do, to what you should, tell yourself more and stuff like that. So yeah, that's like my point is, if they really think that you need some clinical treatments because you are somehow severe, then definitely do it. It's something that is very absolute. So yeah. First question, will it ever go away? That is definitely for you to decide, because some of you might say that it is impossible. You've tried and you failed. You've tried multiple times and you got bored of it. You just feel everything is useless, which actually goes the same to how I felt it before. I mean, what really worked for me is the art of positive thinking. That involves a couple of practices which I mentioned before, such as meditations, grounding, and healthy living. And the process is long, guys. It's not like a simple period of time where you do it. It's not a clinical treatment, where you do it in a certain period of time and it will give you a long-term impact. No, you have to constantly do the practices to obtain a permanent result, because that's just basically a thing about it. Doing the practices for around 7 to 8 years right now, I would say, because it happened to me when I was like in junior high school. Way before I actually knew there was a term called depression anxiety. I never knew it back then. But when I got into high school, I started to feel like everything is going, not right. So, which is wrong. I mean, why am I saying not right instead of wrong? I don't know. But yeah, that, guys. I mean, yeah, you get my point. I always thought that depression is a totally different thing to me. So it's basically a disease that was triggered externally from a lot of factors, which is not wrong. But the fact that I only rely on the expectations of how I will change those factors that is affecting me, which are included but not limited to the people around me, my friends, my family, my school grades, my teachers, and so on and so forth, is totally something wrong. Because, honey, you need to realize that the universe actually has a storage of things that you cannot control from the beginning. And I would say the only way to really retrieve that is to either accept them or extinguish them for a more peaceful life. I know it sounds very easy and very simple. I know it's not easy for some people, especially for people that are experiencing the same thing as me, where we're very suppressed with like the society standards and how we should really act in accordance to how they want us to be. It's not easy to like simply say things like, oh my god, you're not good for me, I should keep away from you, you should distance yourself from me and stuff like that, because we always try to be as nice as possible to people, no matter how mean they are to us. It's just like a very bad thing, and I try to just like nurture the value inside of me, the virtue of like thinking that not everybody meant to like us, and this is life that we just have to carry on with. The fifth question is, what about self-harm? How to stop them? I experience self-harm a lot. I think I carry on that escape mechanism from I was in high school until 2 years ago, because I stopped doing self-harm in like 2018. I was still doing it in 2017 because that was also one of my stressful years where I feel like everything just collapsing very fast and I didn't know where to go and stuff. I stopped because one of my greatest friends actually found out about it. He was terribly mad. I was terribly mad, and he lectured me for 5 hours straight, and I guess it made me realize several things, like one, if I didn't start to change it, nobody will. And self-harm is never a good thing, actually. But does that make you a bad person? I don't think so. I mean, like, it has its own reason to happen, How did I constantly stop them? I think with all of this in my wall, that's how I constantly stop them. I have always liked drawing since I was very little, since I was in the kindergarten per se, because I joined a lot of competitions in drawings, and I stopped doing it probably around high school because I was so focused on other things for organizations and work and stuff. But then I continued doing it, and I guess it's very therapeutic, and I guess how to stop self-harm is obviously one is to have the will in yourself, because if you didn't start it, nobody else will. And do realize how wasteful your time in like doing self-harm, and like how useless it is to actually do self-harm, because the problem will not go away by itself, let alone with like harming yourself. It's like, that is exactly what I nurture inside of my mind. Things like, you will, the problem, it's still there even when you actually do self-harm. So think out of a solution. Don't go away from it. Don't run from it. It's life. It's basically just, the cycle just goes on like that. You would have to live by it. And what really makes you strong is how you deal with those kind of things. It's how you see the surprising things coming right after you, days after days, and you're still know how to deal with it. I think the habituation of myself of like dealing with those kind of stuff is really something that affects me pretty much. And of course, other practices such as things with how to deal with problems. My practices in how to deal with problems really affects me. Instead of like crying and having panic attack. I don't actually have any panic attack, but I do have anxiety attack, especially when it involves time because I'm not a deadliner per se. I'm a person who doesn't like to procrastinate, but every time that I have like some instant or like immediate errands that I have to do that day, I would instantly get some anxiety attack. I would cry for straight 5 hours nonstop. And I would like catch my breath and have like some asthma like going on and like, things like that. But I found a way to deal with it in a lot more peaceful way. Every time that I have a problem, I would sit, I would think, I would close my eyes, and I would just breathe. That's the first thing that I need to do. So I guess you need to really find practices like that, the thing that you find very therapeutic, the thing that you can really calm you down. I believe if you say there's nothing like that in your life, I think that's just another term of how you haven't discovered a lot more things yet, and you should probably sit down and think about it because that's like the most crucial thing for me, is to find something very therapeutic and very helpful for you every time that you have those kind of things, so then you would not have to run to like self-harms or other things that is harming you. So that. By the way, it takes habituation, guys. I guess I did self-harm every day back then 2 years ago. I still do self-harm every single day. So I add one line to my hand every single day, or to my thighs, or to the back of my hand. I do it every single day. And I stopped doing it for like, I think in the weekend I would probably give myself permission every time that I feel like I socialized too much and I got drained so much. I would probably give myself like, okay, you can do 2 lines, but not more than that. But I guess that's a very bad method. So basically, if you're asking me how did I actually stop self-harm, is probably with habituation. It's a long process. It takes a lot of will and courage, I would say, because if you don't have any courage and look for alternatives that you can actually use to really endure the pain and stuff, I guess you will not find a way to stop self-harm. But if you can build that inside of yourself and control what is happening here, then you might as well find a way to stop self-harm. And honestly, guys, if you're experiencing such thing, I think the best way to find something to contribute to what you're experiencing is obviously to stop self-harming. Self-harming is basically like making yourself feel worse about yourself with things that are not supposed to be there. For example, for me, I did self-harm because I just want to feel the pain, because the pain inside of my head, it's a lot worse than the pain I feel in like slitting and stuff. So that is exactly why I call it as an escape mechanism, which is like a new way. Like if the goal is to actually, reduce the pain that I'm having inside of my head, or everyone inside of me. By the way, for those who doesn't know, I also suffer from chronic migraine, which is something that is very genetic happening in my family, where people experience migraine until they could probably faint out. That's actually a very normal thing happening to me. And every time that I experienced depression and such thing, when it comes back, I would probably get some migraines that is very severe also, and I could not do anything besides laying down and cry most of the time. So when that happened, I would usually do self-harm because, like what I said before, the pain in my hand could distract me from the pain that is happening anywhere else. From that point on, I tried to really brainstorm the things about how I really want to search for other mechanism instead of like self-harming. If the goal is actually about to like distract me from the pain, then I need to find other ways to distract me. And then I found several practices, such as calming myself down before I continue everything, painting, writing most of the time, yeah, and other stuff like cooking. So I really like to cook and yeah, I guess that's like a very effective way for you guys to try. So yeah, try to find other alternative. But again, it is all started from your own will. So if you really want that to be erased from your life, to be removed, to be, if you really want to get rid of those one thing in your life, then you should nurture in your heart that you are really going to do it from yourself and not because of other people. And you're going to do it definitely for yourself. So yeah, the last question is, do I regret having depression in my life? No, I don't really regret anything, because with depression, I understood a lot more about other people's conditions. I understood a lot more about myself, especially. And yeah, I guess just having that one phase in your life really builds me up and like it really gives me the strength to carry on this life. Because then again, I'm like, life, what else can you throw me? I mean, like, that's probably the worst thing that happened in my life. So like, if you throw me something worse, if you throw me anything else, I would probably be prepared for it. I mean, like, I've experienced it before, so like that's the way that I positively think about the existence of depression in my life and other mental disorders. But also, guys, if you don't feel comfortable in involving a person, if you don't feel chemistry in talking to a person, whoever they are, either if they're like an expert in what they're doing or like a psychologist near your house or whatever, but if you don't feel the chemistry in talking to them, then feel free to always leave them and just not tell them everything, because that happened to me. I went to numbers of psychologists, whereas I don't feel comfortable in talking to several of them. I guess it happened previously in the past 2 years where I tried to find psychologists in the ground where I live right now, because I couldn't really contact the one that I usually visited in my place back then. So I tried to find a place, but it didn't suit me. They didn't really get what I was saying. They didn't have any of my record, and I would have to like explain to them the whole thing again. I just don't think I have the power to actually do it, because that could probably take like 2 days talk with them. And yeah, I just don't feel comfortable with it. I'm not the type of person who could talk to like an expert like that, but I would prefer to talk up to a person who had experienced the same thing. And if it goes the same as you guys, feel free to do that. Just please, if you guys are experiencing the same thing, if you guys are curious about what you're having, are very, feeling weird and stuff like that, you just don't feel right at the time, go seek for help, especially to one person that you actually have and hold on for so long, because I believe many of you guys might have at least, well, for me, I am not close to my family whatsoever, so I cannot search for help to them, but I do have this one friend for 8 years, and he has always been there for me whatever happens, and I always talk to him about everything. And he was the one who was so mad at me when I tried to kill myself, and he enlightened me with a lot of stuff, though I still continued doing self-harm until 2 years ago. I stopped because he found out again and he lectured me again, and I was like, okay, I know that this actually needs to stop. If I want to get better, then I have to start and begin for myself. I have to like erase all of the things that I started doing, practices that the internet told me to do, my psychologist told me to do, that good friend of mine actually told me to do. I started doing every single practice they told me to do. It worked pretty well, because then again, I started to really train the art of positive thinking inside of myself. And I guess that's like the whole thing about it, because the way we see the world creates the world that we want to see. That is the quote that I put in the last episode of Ephemeral. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it here or here or here or anywhere in the screen, because I made it with all my heart, and I think I pour all the things out there. So that's that, guys. I'm so sorry if I make this video in English. It's because I want the content to be a lot more universal for others, and yeah, because it's just like a very broad topic to talk about. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any more questions about it, please do leave a comment below, because I would probably help you answer them. Do remember that I'm not an expert in this, so if you have any other thoughts about what I'm talking about, if you basically think that I'm wrong, you know, you can just comment down below. We'll figure out things together. We'll talk and discuss a lot of things about this. Mental health is a very under-informed topic here in Indonesia. So I guess starting it here could also be a big change in the society. Just hoping that you guys can spread the words that mental health is important. It's one of the most important things that I want to nurture, especially to my children. Oh, and by the way, one last thing, guys. You have to have the goal in life, okay? I'm saying to you that every time that I want to kill myself, the only thing that I would think about is first, my parents. I really want to pay them back, though I didn't have like a good past with them, but still they're my parents. I really want to pay them back. I want to, you know, just buy them good things, just, you know, guarantee their perfect life, because they don't have to work in the elder age. So like things like that. Second one is I really want to see my children. I've always wanted to have children since like, I don't know when. I don't know will it change later on when I actually got married or not, but I really want to have children regardless of the existence of my husband, meaning that I don't think I necessarily need the husband to like have children. That's a very bad way of thinking, but I really want to have children. You know what? My mind have always created this image where I watch them in a school play, I clap for them, I say that I'm proud of them, I cried, I just really want to see that happen. And that is one thing that always keeps me away and keeps me awake from doing the things that I want to do and being very conscious of the choices that I make in the near future. So yeah, I think you gotta have that one big motivation that you want to have. Either that's because of you want to be success, you want to own the Starbucks company, because I've always wanted to be like that, but I think that's like impossible. Yeah, try to find it for yourself. And remember, guys, you're not alone. You know, there are a lot of people who are experiencing the same thing as you, and they might as well could be a place where you can share things and you probably find a solution towards whatever that you are going through right now. Find a community, look for expert, start within yourself. Whatever happens here is controlled here, guys. So that's probably, yeah, the way that you should think about it. I'm not trying to make this video very depressive and whatnot. I'm just trying to deliver whatever that I'm experiencing in the past previously. I hope it helped you guys. I hope everything that I say in this video doesn't really offend anybody. If it does, I'm terribly sorry, because honestly, I didn't intentionally did that. So yeah, I hope I can see you guys in my next video. And if you guys actually have any more concerns or like any more things that you would like me to talk about, please comment down below. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the near future. Live long and prosper, people. Bye.